welcome to this conversation. Please be totally at ease, which I feel you are, and I'm just here. As you know, those that know me, I'm not in any rush to get things started. So I'm just enjoying being here and just ready to be with you. So just like you, I've got my cup of tea. You know, those of you that are in Italy, you probably got a cappuccino, although it'd probably be morning. Australia, well, Australians can have anything really. Yeah. A tinny or whatever it is. England's definitely going to have tea. But mostly enjoy drinking our love together and discovering what that means. And I trust I have enough volume here. Yeah. So welcome, and I believe this little sharing is called Only Love is Pouring. Hard to believe sometimes, isn't it? Unless you've come to a place to see how love works, how it works. I mean, how it really works. We have so many concepts, don't we, of what love is, particularly around its personal sense of feeling. We don't like to see maybe, this is just conversation, please, that love will turn us inside out, upside down, every which way but loose. For what we are to discover that we are actually the love that we're seeking in things or in others. So there's deep inner workings of what love is, beyond the sense of feeling and this conditional idea of what love is, and that love wouldn't do such and such a thing. So what I'd like to do is I have some questions here. I'd like to read through them and share my own insights on these questions. They're from many different people from many different countries. But first I would really like to invite you to relax and open and really meet each other. Of course, the body-mind identity say, well, who are we to meet? I mean, there's a handful of people in this room. Shall I go and get my next door neighbour in? Maybe I don't like my next door neighbour. I'm not going to invite them in. Is that really how shallow our consciousness is, or is it possible that we're endless? And that our communion and our ability to communicate beyond the belief of what our body-mind, in its conditionality, demonstrates to maybe most of us, that we're able to commune and to communicate beyond the spoken word, beyond the idea that we need to see each other in form. I mean, like right now, those that you love, do you not see them, even though they're not in the room? Have you ever had this overwhelming compassion for maybe an incident that you've heard happened around the world, and you don't know these people, as in the human flesh, and yet there is this meeting and this communion that exceeds needing to know an other through sense perception, that we can actually really dearly meet not just our dear ones, but we can meet the dearness in which we are already one. Now this dearness actually has come from a question. It's just come in why I'm just brought dearness in, because it's in a question I'd like to share with you in a moment. But have you ever met anybody, or is there anybody around you that have to be honest about these things, that well, you might not like their self, their surface self, you might not like how they live or move their life, but at times when you are totally unguarded, there's a dearness, just a tiny little touch that goes beyond the personal and beyond any time and space. And you touch upon a dearness that unites all beings in the cosmos. And that dearness can shine all the way up and through into your heart, into your body, and into your mind, and you're knowing the dearness that truly is the gem in all of us, the beloved, the self, capital S, pure being. So I invite you to find that right now, but in everybody that's communing in this call, you go wider, everybody's not on this call, but isn't it true that everyone is in this calling to realize what they are and to live the realization of what one truly is? So welcome to this sharing. have no plans for it other than to meet you, be with you, love you, share with you. That's it, really. Enjoy you. And in this conversation, in this meeting, and in the reading of these questions of life, love, being, and truth, which, to me, as I read them, they're in every level of my life, whether the body seems to be asleep or awake. I'm inspired by the dearness. It's like right now, this quite simply, that whilst I sit here and speak, I'm looking into a computer screen with a waterfall and an eagle in the distance. Wasn't what I chose. It's just here, but there's a dearness for this. It speaks more than the waterfall, and it speaks more than the eagle, but it includes everything. Is that is the movement of this breath and the cohesion of meeting anything, any experience, and anyone. Time for tea. So this letter is actually on my iPhone. And I've loaned a pair of glasses. So if the Australians think I'm taking off Dame Edna, whatever her name is. So this letter is from a lady from Scotland, Pat, whom I believe will be on this call. Hi, Pat. And she says, "Dear Bernie, since there has been seeing that the familiar is not what it seems, and that the entire life has been lived subtly and not so subtly through the filter of an apparent me and concepts thereof, much is changing. Overlays of guilt, blame, shame, and pride falling away as unreal. There has been a previously unrecognized understanding that although I am not what I have believed myself to be, the assumption has been, if I am not that, then I must be something else, which I am yet to find. All the seeking has been for what this something else is. The self has been seeking to find, through its own illusion, another illusionary something. You describe the sense of knowing as impersonal and yet known. Your transmission is the direct communication of this placeless place of knowing without concept. what is arising is a sense of direct knowing, of knowing as knowing itself. I'm going to say that again for you. And I know the dearness in this. What is arising is a sense of direct knowing. She's using capitals in the knowing. A direct knowing of knowing as knowing itself. Not as a concept. Very fine and very subtle. Yet powerful and full. It is very compelling to sit quietly with what is being revealed. Subtle intelligence that is not of the thinking mind. There is a question around a sense of dearness, of something exquisitely precious felt in the deep heart. Is the dearness experienced in this life that seems to arise spontaneously as I, as forms, as experience, actually the dearness of the knowing? Mistakenly claimed by the self in attachment to phenomenal appearances. And is this dearness that is the bridge between the manifest and the unmanifest, pointing us back to the more of who we are? Is this what you speak of when you say to keep returning to your heart? Thank you and much love, Pat. I'm just going to read this knowing of knowing again, so I can speak of it direct. What is arising is a sense of direct knowing of knowing as knowing itself, not as a concept. In other words, not as an experience, as one would experience an apparent object, but that is truly intimate, very subtle and fine, more so, really, and very, and yet powerful and full. This is the bit I'm drawn to. It is very compelling to quietly sit with what is being revealed. Subtle intelligence that is not of the thinking mind. It's funny because this very powerful statement also draws me to something very simple and very dear. you probably have this in your own life, more than likely, but I'm drawn to those times when this body, sounds crazy me speaking of time, but I'm going to use it just to demonstrate a reflection here. When I was a child, and I can say, but roughly between the age of 7 to even older into my teens, and I would come home from wherever it was, school, or my mother would pick me up from school, or in my teenage years I would come home and lunch would be on the table, or whatever it is. She would say to me, I would open the door, and immediately she would say, "My dear." This is what she would say. She would say, "My dear." Whatever else she would say was, as it were, inconsequential. She would just say, "My dear." And in that moment of dearness, I would be open to what is truly dear to both of us. That we would be immersed in an intimacy of being that transcended the bodies but included them, that transcended the parent, the mother and the son, but included it. I knew that very, very young, that when she used the word dear, and she often used it towards me, I would know a dearness that included and transcended us both. And I would know that for the rest of the time in which she would speak to me and use the word dear, because the dearness wasn't conceptual. It is the love that brings us to share love, intelligence, form, creation, activity, meaning. To actually discover we're the same one. The same one acting as mother, the same one acting as son, the same one acting as whatever. I knew this connection with dearness very young. This is the first time I've spoken about this dearness in this manner, but I just wanted to get that across because just coming to what Pat is asking then, there is a question around dearness of something exquisitely precious. The union, the oneness. And it does arise spontaneously. And it arises as I. It arises as form. It arises as experience. It arises as movement. It arises as connection. And it also arises as action of that connection, the movement of that. The deeper space is moving and connecting and having surface movement, engagement and knowing. Dearness then is the ground of the one. The love that is pouring, regardless of whatever takes place. For instance, this woman called my mother has passed away. Her form's passed away, and yet I'm knowing dearness as her being right now. It will not stop. And I'm knowing the dearness of the one I called mother, and yet I could say I transcended this idea that she was my mother, and yet I loved that she was my mother. And I know, or as I speak now, this dearness that I have for what she is as a being, and that she's in this conversation right now, because that's how dear this life is to all of us. Because you could pass a stranger in the street, and if you had just one connection of light to light, heart to heart, being to being, that is dearness. That being you will be knowing for all eternity. The connection of that being with that being, you're going to be knowing for all eternity. Right there is a bond of knowing and revealing the one to each other. It's like this conversation. This conversation is exactly that. That we have a bond of dearness. That our love of our intimacy of depths of being, and having a love and a knowledge of what is deeply meaningful and beyond us as separate sense beings, and yet full of what we are as eternal beings, is why we have this conversation, why we would pass in the street, and possibly why you would meet another, whether it was purchasing something in a shop, passing them on a train, or whatever it is. It's a calling to meet the dear, the truly most dear, most real, most meaningful. And it's here in our meeting. And certainly, with this dodgy old iPhone, which I've now dropped several times, and I just had the screen placed, and it's decided it doesn't want to do much. Not as a concept, very subtle and fine, yet powerful and full. It's very compelling to sit quietly, because when we have this deep touch of what is really dear to us, the truth, the beingness, the inner connection where we do not perish and we do not pass away, where we are already whole, then it, but not as other, drinks what we are, and what we are drinks what it is, because actually we're the same one, but the dearness is the depths of intimacy that we flow from and that we return to. And in that flowing from and returning to, I do not mean in terms of birth and death, I mean with every breath. Flowing from it now, returning it to it now. And it's very beautiful and quite an incredible, sacred, luscious moment when knowing of knowing as knowing knows itself. It's a completeness and a recognition of our eternal nature, and it fulfills our heart, no matter what's going on in this this dimension of bright reality, this human dimension of bright reality. No matter what's going on, is the knowing of knowing. Knowing, it's knowing is beyond any concept. It is the dearness. It is our fulfillment. It's what we are, what I am. And somewhere in this level of that is just a passing visitor, you know, this form. is integrated in the dearness. Just a touch of integration in the body and mind. The body-mind begins to have dearness in it, beingness in it, a living realness in it, that we actually long for, to follow that longing, and die for it in many ways in terms of letting go of the concepts that we keep our familiar sense of self together with. I trust I've gone into that enough. I could sit here all night and just go into this beloved connection. So I just want to make sure I've kind of so when we return to the heart, the heart being the place in which the entrance to dearness, the entrance to realness, and to abide in that without any hope or need to experience the dearness. Just being so open. And the claim of the believed sense of separate self, which is made of the same dearness, made of consciousness or being, it doesn't lose its grip. Awareness loses its interest in this concept that I am separate from source and everything of my experience. Awareness loses interest in needing to control and direct experience. It begins to love revelation. It's truly dear to open for each moment to reveal and be given to what is deeply revealed. It just costs us our belief that we were ever separate. Thank you, Pat, for sending that in. Although I'm just going to have another look at it. Whilst having tea, what are you having? I think Alistair conspired to put this waterfall here. That's the look in his eagle eye. Eagle. Awareness through mind makes many assumptions as to experience. You can see mind do its thing, presuming, assuming, consuming, anything whatsoever, and trying to make some sense of something that is has no need to be made sense of, because what is being made sense of right now is love. Love is having sense, perception. I think I've done with that one. Ooh, look at these two. Two very much the same. here. So Betsy and Isabella, are you in the same room? No, you're countries apart. Betsy says, can you love too much? Question. And Isabella says, Ciao. Ciao, Bernie. Please talk to us about love, capital love, the real love, not the romantic one. Even if it is a taste of the real love. Thank you. I've kind of just been doing that. Well, let's go into that right whilst we're being together. No, I'm not thinking, I'm enjoying the being of our communion. Let's it's going to be a mix, Betsy and Isabella, but we'll go with Isabella first. Speak to us of love. Whoa, Kabir came up then. You know, if love finds you worthy. Do you know that one? You might want to look that one up. To be in this conversation, to just be here, just using this as an example, please. Is you're calling to realize what you are and what this is. As a kid, as a child, very young, I was the only way I could put it is very much in touch with and moving as and communing with unseen places. Now, when I was a child, still very much child, but in childhood, and a lot of children do this, and often parents who's forgotten their unseen nature believe they've just got friends around, you know, unseen friends, and so it's a mind game thing. But with this one, the connection with the unseen, which I now would call whatever I would call it, actually, deeper reality, whatever. I would know and still move in very much an unborn state, in that what I knew, what I was knowing inside, you've got to understand this is a very young age, so all the concepts hadn't arisen, hadn't got put in as yet, was my valuing and knowing and in the experience of unformed levels, and yet being informed was, and still is enormous. The influence of where this one seemed to have been poured out from was still very much moving, living, gazing, knowing, tasting, touching, experiencing. You got kids, you'll know this somehow or other. Maybe you've returned to a child and have touches of this yourself. And so we who are having this conversation must have a calling of our unseen nature. We know the scene. Have a look. You don't even have to look at the scene, as in your room, your friends, your family, objects in your life. You can even think of them, and there they are pictured. Pictures, pictures after pictures. Mostly repetitive pictures of conditional past experience just being recircled through all humanity, actually. But you can see those, and yet you and I, through having this call to share that's truly deeper, we are called to a deeper knowing and a deeper perception of what is more than just of sense. Now, is it of sense of itself? That's the same as saying, is your body-mind, which you know is sense perceptive, you're perceiving it in the senses, but you're perceiving that as awareness. See how it just keeps moving? So your body-mind seems to be of sense perception, but it's actually of you. You are, I am the unseen. I'm not, you cannot see me. You can know me. Please keep your I and your me in your own heart, please. Otherwise you'll think I'm talking about someone who appears out here. Whether I'm appearing on your screen, that screen that's there, or this screen, this is still the screen, this is a big screen, this one's a little one, you know, I don't know, what is it, Apple or one of the other brands, I don't know too many, and please forgive me, Apple seems to have taken my bite. It's a screen, this screen, you're looking at me with, this screen, and this screen is the same thing. This might be technology, but this is supreme tech. You ever thought of your brain as an app? Oh, did you feel that move? That move somewhere. Your brain is an app. So this is the screen, and the mystery that is unseen is projecting on it. On this sphere of projecting is sense perception in human form. What is the screen made of, please? What is the plasma of the screen? Well, the plasma of the screen is intelligence. The deeper you go into the screen, the more intelligent it becomes. Intelligence from where I'm speaking of, yes, I'm still speaking of love, please. I'm still speaking of love. The intelligence I'm speaking of is an ability to manifest as light in substance, from the pure light, which is the self, to light in realms of light unseen to the naked eye, but known by the eye. Let's check out the eye. Does the eye know more than the seen sense perception? Let's just check. In other words, when you went to deep dreamless sleep last night, or you're about to, are you not able to transcend all space and time, and the eye that sees and hears these words and the eye that sees on this screen is able to go deeper into the screen, which is your pure aware intelligence, and you're able to know, but without appearance, more than your familiar sense of self on this human level. That was quite a lot, wasn't it? I mean, kind of a bit blowy there. Slow down a bit so you can get this. So we can, as this eye, which is rather like this camera in which I am seeing I, and I am seeing I, which is the same as saying knowing, knowing, knowing. Whoa! Knowing, knowing, knowing. And the knowing, knowing, knowing is appearing as the manifest universe on the screen of awareness that is projected by the light of pure love or intelligence, which is the I, the self, which I, knowing I am. So then this I can also say you and I, but the more that we just head to I, we emerge as the same I, and we emerge as the same I, but with slight difference of identity. In other words, experience. And we're able to decode merging as I, knowing I, knowing, knowing, knowing. We're able to merge into I and re-emerge in the dissolving into I and even beyond I, and we're able to convey it. We're able to convey it from, let's just call it the 3% difference that we are. We're able to convey it. And in this conveyance, wow, this conveyance of this I, knowing I, wow, that's a universal life. And actually the universe moves because of that wonderment of meeting. It moves. And the one who's moving it, doing nothing than being I, is I. I. And there's no captain behind this. There's not I, captain. there's cheers. But when this I, and this I, just get this clear. Yes, Isabel and Betsy, we're still on the same question. When this I keeps its eye only in sense perceptual experience and misidentifies with the pure consciousness of knowing, which is I, we could say, as a particular thought, a particular feeling related to a particular person in a particular place, in a particular moment, we begin to misidentify what we are as pure consciousness, able to transcend or descend into what is deeper than I, and emerge from that I and convey what that I is. When we keep this knowing only to the knowing of sense perception, only to the conditional realm in which we've entered, which means the seeming family we were seemingly born into, the seeming culture we were seemingly born into, the seeming world we were seemingly born into. But where I come from, none of that is the truth. It's partial truth, but none of that is the truth, because all of those realms I spoke of are within I, and I am without beginning and end. That's this I, knowing I, knowing I, knowing, knowing, knowing. Well done, Pat. That's why you brought this. And so what we are is a vast reality, multi-dimensional in its pure nature without beginning and end, and that is this I, and yet it transcends this I. And our thrill of life when we were babies, you know, that thrill of life is this communion, this endless communion, and this endless movement of this unquestionable love, which is so dear to us, bodied or not. We're endeavoring to convey in this human life. We're endeavoring to convey it. So now let's get to the end of this conveyor belt. At the end of this conveyor belt, is if there is an end to this conveyor belt, on the human end, is this pile up of what I don't want, what I do want, what I shall not want, and it's all these other pile ups of identification at the end of the conveyor belt. Yeah? So it's where this conditional realm has more and more conditions within it, because, as it were, whilst awareness holds on to this false identity that I'm actually a somebody, I'm actually a body, but what really I am is a no-body, for I am consciousness itself, or love itself. And that is being conveyed because the entire universe breathes and lives because I am love. Please just allow our eye to stay within our own center. So we can I'm just pointing, you see, you have to discover this here, just discover it lightly. Then, as shining awareness, you seem to have been born, and as shining awareness, at a very tender age, you were just shining the love that you are without doing or needing anything. And you entered this realm of knowing, knowing, knowing. You entered this realm of I. Nothing changed for you because you were beyond change. But then as you were introduced to this conditionality of a level of form, conditional form, which actually is the right condition, without effort, really, to take form or give form to what you are, knowing, 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 that this level of you will form what you're being in it. Just like when you were a baby, your body formed around your pure being, and your body is, not just was, but is. Let's just stay with the baby idea first to build this way. Your body, which seemed to build in your mother's womb, but it was actually building in the womb of you. For you so were called to give form in a level of you level of reality that could form you, but without beginning and end, because that's what you are, without beginning and end. Infinite love. So you moved, as it were, these are just pointers, into the womb, your womb, as awareness, and form began to form, energy, form, began to form the beingness of you in form. And that's why a baby is so delightful, because it's the pure form of pure being. Of course, the body has its conditionality in it, because this realm has conditions, but it was the pure form. I'm pointing only. The pure form of the pure you. That's why babies are so delightful. They have no mind, as it were. Mind comes, as it were, later, when the potentiality of the heart that being is able to move the unseen levels. And yet, as I was endeavoring to express what I am now, and certainly as a child, I did not know formal form. I did not know it. I couldn't comprehend most of what my parents, my sisters, people around me couldn't get across to me that this was form. It sounds crazy, I know, but I think I was probably put into the lowest class in the universe, because I could not understand this idea that form was form. I couldn't formulate it. It wouldn't. It wouldn't. I didn't know form as form. I just knew form as dearness. And dearness sprung up everywhere. It sprung up when I smelled the potatoes that I was pulling out the garden with my dad. It sprung up when I saw the sunshine. It certainly sprung up when I heard birds sing, and it certainly sprung up when I saw my sisters or others, or the river, or it just, this dearness, this dearness that it's not just a connection, it is the flow of the unseen manifesting into seen forms of the one expression. It is the love that we are. Now I'm going to endeavor to turn towards this question here. So, Chow, please talk to us about love. I just have, and it's the one that's listening to these words. Real love, I just have, and you are real, which means you are reality. Multi-dimensional, radiant, whole and complete, but on the level of reality, such as the conditional realm of form, the completeness is you. You are the meaning of all completeness. And you are complete, but endlessly complete, because you're eternally complete. On this level of forming, form moves because it cannot express what you are without moving. That's why we love this. It's dear to us, the movement of what we are, eternal, moving, shifting, forming, expressing, moving, shift. It's why we love the river. If the river was just a puddle, wouldn't it? If the sky didn't move, and the stars didn't shine and move. The movement is a love, dearness movement of our essential nature. And that we are so endlessly pouring what we are as love. That the whole universe is moving and flooding with the revelation of knowing, knowing, knowing. Self knowing itself, revealing itself. That it is the one that is manifesting this without any effort, actually. And that is love. But within that, Isabella, where I would say that is the romance. It's not just the romance between two people. The romance between two people is this single movement of the unseen being unveiled. And can you love too much? Absolutely no. Can you hurt too much? Absolutely no. Because if you love too much, if you really realize you cannot not love too much, then you realize that this is going to sound terrible or paradoxical, then you cannot hurt too much to love too much. On this realm it comes hand in hand, but yeah, you heard right. You did hear right. If you realize you cannot love too much, then pain is nothing for you. It's how this level of forming unfolds what you are. And whilst you believe you're a person, that's going to be painful. And whilst you believe there is others that don't want this, that's going to be painful. And there will be no meaning for you to be. Because basically, you're frightened of your own love. You're frightened of your own vastness, your own endlessness, and the truth that you weren't born and don't die, and all that is a wonderful appearance, mystical or otherwise. You're a mystery to yourself and remain so. And so, you cannot love too much. But I suggest with that you'll find that you cannot have too much pain in the manner in which I'm demonstrating. They kind of come hand in hand. Because when you love without end, each veil cracks in your experience, and you will feel and experience that somewhere here, on whatever level you do. And when you truly love and you're willing to, as it were, be cracked open on some level of your heart, your mind, and the cracking open is this conceptual idea on this level that you are human, but you are being human. That's what is first. Without the being, there would be no human. And so, it's a constant birth. No, you cannot love too much. But if you love that much, then you will open to impersonal pain. But how that is, you'll have to discover. You already have somewhere. I'm revealing this to you. And why do we have to have pain? No, you don't have to have pain. It's the suffering that you don't have to have. Pain is just natural on this level, whether it's a body or mental or emotional. And I think you know what I'm pointing towards. You're not loved too much. But on this sphere of you, the building of the unseen coming in, you will crack and crack and crack the concepts that have been added to you since time began. You will crack them, crack them, crack them. You'll first think it's you and somebody else is doing this to you. But it's not. It's you're longing to realize what you are and how it manifests into form. Not just this is a universe. This is a universe. This is the universe. And the one who is, and the one who is manifesting the universe, is in its own universe. Hello, universal creator, being. Ciao. I'll be coming to Italy very soon. Isabella, have the cappuccino ready, please. I'm over tea. So, all that I'm doing here, please, I'm only through life experience and through the realization of that I am. And when I say I'm saying knowing, knowing, knowing. This I isn't some individual sitting on the chair. This I is is not just fixed in a body. This eye is the eye that's knowing right now. This wonderful miracle on this level is it's individuated. It's differently individuated in deeper unseen levels of being. Deeper unseen levels of being moves through being. There's nothing that has a boundary. Being simply merges and moves being to being. No boundaries. Let's just see, we have time for a little more. So in what we've just been looking at in these conversations, the essential message is the essence of that is in this communion now, in this meeting, in this knowing now. And within our own meeting, discover the subtle that opens in and beyond the heart. And that maybe in this meeting you've discovered some deeper relaxation, because when we deeply relax, which means we're letting go of controlling thought and feeling and organizing it into particular shapes and concepts of familiarity. That's what we do unconsciously. But when you truly relax, you who is aware of this moment of knowing itself, then we relax into the deeper realms of our own awareness. So rather than our awareness just being focused on this television box of me, family, friend and culture, that's a television. Kind of get entertainment from that. And when we aren't entertained, we turn it off. Or try to switch on another channel. But the thing in that kind of television, all the channels are very much the same. Do you see the dearness in that? Do you experience the dearness in that? The one laughing and enjoying itself. Ever laughed at yourself with such love and dearness? So when we get more awareness of how we conditionally, but you have to understand that this body-mind that we are perceiving, it's in our perception. The one who's perceiving this is awareness, knowing. So then, in this focus of perception of our awareness, in the tunnel vision of me and mine, we've conditioned our experience to maintain what we believe conditionally, but we don't find it's a condition for some years, maybe not even in this lifetime. This movement of energy and patterning to remain the same. So many people on this planet living the same. There's nothing wrong in that, but there's no profound revelation in that. It doesn't make it wrong. It's just not opening to the vast that this one who is listening really is. So when we have, like on this conversation, if it's true for you, that we just open a little more awareness, a little more of what we are, just having more awareness. Now, when we have more awareness, having more awareness, it has more aware knowing. So its field of intelligence, or its knowing light, which transcends forms but includes forms, it's piercing the veils of the unseen. And we're introduced into the unseen. And sometimes we can get wonderfully mesmerized in the unseen with others. And we begin to know each other more than what we have seen each other to be. It's a state of love and dearness and opening to our greater light or oneness calling. So when we have more awareness, we have more light of knowing, and we're actually knowing, this is what I'm saying, my own experience, our knowing pierces the veils of the norm and the familiar. And when that happens, this level of reality, the human level of reality, is introduced to more than our familiar sense. And when we awaken, whoever this is listening, for it is awareness, knowing, when this awakens, when we awaken more, a greater awareness, and we begin to be in touch with the unseen levels that are beyond sense perception, but are not beyond our perception in the deeper places, like when you dive into deep dreamless sleep, then we're introducing a deeper level of our love, our loving, into sense perception. So basically we're introducing this. Are you with me? To this. Now you get the difficulty. How are you going to put this into this? But that's what you're doing. In fact, just to kind of give you an analogy, as a baby or as a child, you're this vastness put into a little bottle called baby. Tiny little bottle called baby. This vastness. Baba. Oh, Baba. And it comes out of your mouth. And if you've ever seen a baby, this vastness bottled, it's let's hope Coca-Cola doesn't get hold of this. But that's what it is. And your body, because you don't have a self as yet, or a personalized mind. There's mind, but it's clear. It's not used because there's no use for it. That use comes later. And so then this vastness in a bottle called baby, you get what I'm pointing to. Because there's no self, because there's no person, because there's no mind, because there's only you as being, there's no overwhelm. Isn't that amazing? You feel the dearness in this? The joy in this? The self is not, there's no self to be overwhelmed by your vastness. Basically, I'm stating that, when yourself is overwhelmed, you're being introduced to more than how you put yourself together. And whilst you keep yourself familiar, if you have a little tad, I think that's New Zealand, I'm not sure, but a little bit of opening, more than your usual, then yourself will get overwhelmed because you've fashioned yourself to stay very conceptually controlled by needing particular thoughts and feelings related to the belief that you're a body, mind, someone. But you're not, you're vastness. I'm still answering your questions here, Isabel and Betsy. Yeah? And so when you get this is, you had no overwhelm as a baby. But let's just look. When a child gets around about 3 or 4, there's an overwhelm begins to happen. Yeah? It's not because it's developing a self. No, it begins to know the contraction of this realm of conditionality, of this life we call human. It begins to know its contraction, and it's being introduced into the contraction. What it then does is look for help. Well, some people here are finding that funny. Again, I'm only pointing. It looks in the wrong place. It looks to its parents. It's the wrong place. Probably the wrong place. It's somewhere it knows the dearness. But whether that dearness is being known and moved and formed by other is what we find out, isn't it? But your dearness is already very dear to you and never left you. It's still dearly what you are, my dear. So become as a baby, become as a child, and introduce your vastness to how you conditioned your sense of self. That's the deal. Or that is love. Or that is self-mastery, self-transformation, to introduce what you are to this level of you, fully. And this level, when you introduce you to this level of you, it will open. But it won't open while you're playing 2 games. The game of me, the game of somebody, or there's another game, the game of I can't, or the game of I won't. 4 games, or there's a few more games. Is to be really awakened to, clearly to discover, and it's a constant discovery, that you're not a body, a somebody, as other bodies might inform you. Your consciousness itself. You're the dearness itself. And when you open as awareness and you know more, introduce that more to yourself by living the meaning of that. And how do you live the meaning of that? How do you know it? Because it's everywhere. The moment you have a little bit more openness, that openness comes to you in many different ways and invitations. Also in dropping away the familiar. When you have the familiar, know the unfamiliar is coming, because that's why the familiar will come for you to drop it away. So the unfamiliar can fill up that familiar space with unfamiliarity. That's openness. And suddenly you begin to know a tenderness and a joyfulness that's so different to how you used to know yourself, because you're becoming all different, because you're opening just like you were as a baby. And you'll begin to experience there is no overwhelm when you convey what you are in this space called I. But you must stay true to it, because the conditional level that you began to relate to conditionally will tell you that you need to keep what you feel you're losing. And you need to gain what you feel you need. But that's all misinformation. So when there's a sense of overwhelm in yourself, introduce yourself to the new level of you. That is awakening. You will need to introduce it, move it by loving. by loving. Can you love too much? This that we speak of, no. Can you love another like this from the place where we speak of? No. Everything finally is calling you to love without end, no matter how it feels. Well, there's so many here. You should all come round to my place. We'll have more time to look together. There's one more that I'm going to come on, and this is from Emma. There's two Emmas here, so I don't know which one's which. Or maybe, Emma, you've written twice, or you have a twin on another continent. No, one's Sweden, one's United Kingdom. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to read both Emmas. Okay. Dear B, the past few weeks I've been integrating huge chunks of small self. And I'm knowing this upgrade on all levels. Even though I'm enjoying this growth immensely, it's been tougher than ever to meet with my partner lately. Normally we meet in the deep. And usually we don't meet as easily in form. This has always been our greatest challenge. In the lack of better words, I would say that I started to outgrow this relationship. And I'm knowing this really means I'm starting to outgrow my old ways. Within me, there's also a great longing for being and meeting more of my essence. For old forms to die and new ones to manifest. I'm also knowing there's a great possibility of transformation here. I'm not sure what this means for my current partnership. Is deep love between two seeming others always enough? Even though there's a great mismatch on the level of form. So much here, and much of what we've looked at, and I love the way in which love weaves, moves, reveals, and then moves to another level. The past few weeks I've been integrating huge chunks of small self and knowing this upgrade on all levels. So I'm assuming, Emma, you mean as awareness and not as Emma, because Emma can't do any of this. But you as aware knowing who forms, moves a person having a self called Emma, I understand it from that place. Even though I'm enjoying this growth immensely, I'm just going to go through this. Even though I'm enjoying this growth immensely, who is this that's enjoying this growth immensely? Is it someone called Emma? Is it someone called B? Is it someone called Jack? Is it someone called Jill? Is that the one who's enjoying this immensely? Or is it awareness meeting dearness? The enjoyment of meeting and merging into deeper levels of our being revealed, and then that revelation or opening changing the way in which we know what we are and how we know the use of mind, the use of feeling, the use of our hands, the use of our feet, the movement of this life. So growth then is this ability, this moving ability that moves our sense perceptive sense of self and person, it moves it from a deeper relatedness than a person, a self with others. It's a relationship of being. It begins to relate to the depth of the dearness itself, the beloved itself. That's the relatedness. Then notice in how we've been speaking on this call and in all the conversations in this one, what we tend not to notice, us human beings, awareness, is that we are multidimensional, even within our human level. Mind is a dimension. Feeling is a dimension. The psychology is a dimension. There's so many dimensions of human experience. The nervous system, there's so many dimensions. We don't see that we actually skip from one to the other, one to the other. We think they're all what we are, but they're not. They are instruments that belong to the one who perceives, to download deeper perceptions of meaning in a way that manifests a movement aligned with one's pure original being. That's what happens. So there's a movement, and most of us we believe we are just that, but we're not. We have this ability to move from one level of our self and person to another, and then we also have this other ability to move from deeper levels of the unseen. And so then we kind of put all that together and say we're a person, and it's not the truth. So we're able to dodge about pretending we're this one. And we don't get to see that there are different levels of us requiring different levels of development, different levels of movement, and certainly all levels need our true light of meaning to move them and know them and love them, no matter what state that they are at. So then, it's been tougher than ever to meet with my partner lately, which means the level of myself that's not integrated from the growth of this upgrade, that level of myself that's not been touched by this upgrade, that's how you put it, Emma, that level it's been tougher than ever, because you're meeting from the unintegrated level, to meet with my partner lately. Well, the toughness is the moment that you cannot love too much. Whoa, I think you all got together to write me all these letters together. I wonder if you're the same being. Have you conspired to put all this together to make one single conversation that makes loving true sense and greater evolution? Because that's the way it sounds. Maybe we are the same being. So normally we meet in the deep, and usually we don't meet as easily in form. So it's been tougher than ever to meet with my partner lately, which means that's great. Can you hear the trumpets? Can you hear the birds sing? Okay, just stick with the trumpets. The birds sing later. It's that tougher is, Emma, you giving up the need to have it your way. You giving up the need to have it a particular way, and you even giving up to have it any way whatsoever. You want the way of revelation, the unfolding of the deeper level. And when the deeper level moves, it's really not interested in how you once moved. It doesn't see how you once moved. It can only move how it is. It's not like, oh, I'm not moving that way. It just doesn't see that. It can just be the deeper level, come and move the way it moves, and then form can move into the form of this new movement of being, and it forms. And within that movement, the intelligence of how you use mind, how you may think, how you may feel, how you may know, how you may move, everything comes together, and is infused by a deeper level of intelligence, and you grow in the ability to be able to move is that in what at one time you would say was very tough. But tough is good, as long as you are realizing you cannot love too much. And what is it that you're loving? Is it the other that you're loving? Or is it beyond the other that you're loving? But you're prepared to love the beyond, that's beyond the other, and you're prepared to love that in the one you're meeting. Wow. Wow, I'm blown away. It's tougher than ever to meet. Wow, what an opportunity. Normally we meet in the deep, but I would add, now you're going to meet even deeper. And usually we don't meet as easily in form. That sounds great. That sounds like preparation for a deeper place that you've been knocking on. And that place is not going to open up for a fake love. It's going to open up. You've got to knock that door with the right code. In other words, I totally am given to this, however it moves and appears. This new level. And my life will belong to it. That's the code. Open, it opens. This has always been our greatest challenge. I love it. Are you on the right channel? Do you need to change channels? In the lack of better words, I don't find any lack in your conversation, Emma. I think you're just keep reading it. It's I'm just being your heart mouth for you, maybe. I would say that I started to outgrow this relationship. Yeah, you started to grow. May I just be you for a moment? I started to outgrow this relationship with myself. It's become very apparent that this relationship with myself is over. And my partner is doing a very good job of showing me that, as his relationship with his self is also over. I love it. I love it. Look at the eagle flying. I love it. The eagle loves it. On my screen, you might remember or not. I'm knowing this really means I'm starting to outgrow my old ways. Within me, there's also a great longing for being, but this is it. This is it. Also, this is it. It's not separate. Excuse me for getting enthusiastic. But it is it. Within me, there's also a great longing for being, and all this is the trumpet sound of that happening. Yeah. And meeting more of my essence. Yes, this is it. This is it. There's no one else there. For old forms to die. You see that they're dying. And new ones to manifest. My God, I'm going to come to the funeral. I'm already there. Now I'm at the wedding. They're inner marriages. So then you say, which is great. Sorry, Emma, I'm getting you mixed up with the Emma in United Kingdom. You two should meet because you're very much the same. I'm also knowing there's a great possibility of transformation here. Wow. I'm just not sure what this means for my current partnership. Sorry, sometimes I get told off for laughing, but I'm in such joy of reading this with you, Emma, because you now know. Wow, it's what this means for your current partnership is the current is going to get a lot more flowing. Is deep love between two seeming beings always enough? This is not deep love between two seeming beings. This is deep love of the one being, merging its two beings. Zip. Knowing, knowing, knowing. Even though there's a great mismatch on the level form, great mismatch on the level form, it sounds like it's perfectly reforming. Form will simply take the form of what you're being in it. If you're being familiar in how you receive and how you give, form will simply form that for you in all your relationships. That's what it will do. There's no great mismatch. That's still the identification as a small self. There's always great possibility, but you'll have to discover that. And thank you, Emma, so much for bringing such a honesty. I trust that's helped you in some way. Last one. Dear B, I work in accounting and business, and most of my day is spent using my mind. It can sometimes almost be an out-of-a-body experience. I find that although I have experienced much deeper levels of reality, knowing no thing and allowing life to express through me, I only seem to be able to really be in these spaces either when on retreat, on holiday, or after I spent time with beloved ones who live more truly on a daily basis. How do I give to the deeper truth, the space where all dissolves, the beauty I know there when my daily living requires such focus from mental levels? I sometimes feel in a catch-22, where I know so much deeper and open up beyond all my known ways, and then lay all of the known back down again as soon as I engage my life. I work in accounting and business, and most of the day is using my mind. There's nothing that we have in our surface life, whether it's on any level. You see, where I am, I don't separate work from day off, from holiday. I just don't do that. I saw clearly to stop doing that many years ago, and life showed me how. Showed me how. I don't separate night and day, for instance, which sounds a crazy thing, and it's not conceptual. I don't know any division between night and day. I don't know any division in experience. What I am, all experience points to the beloved. All experience points to the deep, points to meaning. In other words, it points to what I, this one who's listening to these words, am. That's what it points to. But you have to clearly come from a deeper knowing and apply that deeper knowing to this surface life. For instance, whatever work you're doing, if you create a need, this is going to sound crazy, it's going to sound crazy, it's going to sound crazy. Say that again, it's going to sound crazy. Because you'll think I'm telling you to do something, but I'm not. But if you create a need for holidays, there's no kind of work that's ever going to happen that's going to fulfill you. Because the moment you need a holiday, what you're needing a holiday from is what you're constructing on the sense of self. You need a holiday from that. And what you'll do is you'll go on holiday with the sense of self that's building a life through doing a certain thing, accounting, business, whatever it is. It's divisive. You can bring what you are to what you're doing right now. But you have to, as it were, cease making what you're doing, accounting, business, whatever it is, cease making that other than belonging to your essential nature. So then when you really get this, you'll begin to relax in your heart and in your inner spaces. But as you relax, like I've said, you'll have more awareness, and have more aware and more presence of knowing. Also, what comes out of that is because when you know more deeper space, more deeper intelligence, more meaning, more love, you're also in that more awareness going to know yourself more. You have to see this. Most people don't get this. Awaken more to the deep, to the meaning that you are. It also awakens you to how you've constructed yourself. So you'll be getting to know yourself. Jesus spoke about this, know yourself. Well, if you awaken, you'll definitely get to know yourself, and you'll believe that what you're experiencing in yourself is a problem, or as somebody else is doing it to you. When you awaken to more spaciousness, in other words, more ability to see and know in the beyond, you'll also see yourself differently, and you'll see things in yourself that you didn't like to see. Sounds crazy. Love seeing it. Do your best to love seeing it. It hurts. But that's on the way to going beyond loving too much. Hurt too much and you will love profoundly. Sounds crazy. But if you're prepared to see yourself as you awaken to yourself, this is the mystery unfolding, and this is the life that you know you can live because you are it in the beyond. It's totally opposite as what your body, mind, yourself will tell you. So then you can, as awareness, see the possibilities that you see with your awakened friends. You know, that little box over there, that's a box. Awakened friends, hi, and these are the unawakened friends box. And this is the box down here that they're never going to make it. You know, that's how. Or what if all the boxes opened? What would you see and know? So, in the business, in the accounting, in what you do for a living, instead of doing it for a living, express it as a being. Turn that around instead of doing it for a living, because you clearly would set out and do things that you believe you need to do because you enjoy them or whatever it is. But use this daily life to reveal more of the inner life. And the belief that, oh, my boss won't do this, or my friends don't want it, that's not the point. You're not knowing what you are. You reveal in the field of the moment the presence in which you come from. It will ignite how you account. It will ignite how you do business. It'll come from an entirely different place of your being that is manifesting this moment. Let go of this idea that all this is not made of you. It's all made of you. It's all made of consciousness. If it causes you pain, it's still made of you. If it causes you love, it's still made of you. This is all made of you, consciousness. So you can open in this. And then instead of using your mind in a fixed way, what if you opened with your heart? Find if that opens your mind to what your heart is and what your heart is seeing and knowing, and that fills up your mind. What I'm thinking at the moment is a movie that came out a little while, and I to be honest, I wept. Might seem crazy for me to say this, but it was about this Indian mathematician. Can't remember the movie. The Man Who Knew Infinity. So an infinite being is revealing over here. And how maths for him revealed the deep. And also for him, the deep was being revealed by the Great Mother. And for him it came in maths. Look, I don't have a great deal of I don't understand maths. I tend to, if I leave mathematics alone, it all just happens. In that way I love maths. But he had this infinity with mathematics, and he did everything to convey his knowledge of knowing, and that was the meaning of him revealing it to himself. And this is daily life, and whatever we do, and amongst the people that we may like, dislike, is to be fully what you are. It really doesn't matter what seeming feedback you get from others. That's not feedback from others. That's good for you to hear and know how deeply you're being real, not from what they say, because there is no they, it's all you, but from what you're knowing the reflections are showing you. Very subtle but very real. So your mind can come from your heart, and your job can come from your heart, and mind can open up to what you really are, and things could change. Maybe you won't do accounting and business, and maybe something else will come, but you won't separate what you do, I'm going to just say 9 to 5, from what you do Saturday and Sunday, and then you dread Monday because you're back to work. I used to know that one, but I dissolved it. It's an out-of-body experience in that when you get too mental, you get into the mental body, the psychic body. Although I have experienced much deeper levels of reality, knowing no thing, which is you're a nobody, which means, wow, you're love, and allowing life to express through me, but the life that's expressing through you is you. There's not you and life. You are life. Discover you're the whole thing. I only seem to be able to really be in these spaces either when on retreat. It's not that. It's, please, it's not looking deeply and really knowing the essence of the moment and hear it and listen to it, because the mind divides this into this kind of conversation, which I'm grateful that you're expressing, so that we can bring truth to this and help each other to understand that we what we really are, and how this level of reality, things have to be held together. I was expressing this with somebody today, that if a bottle has to be held together as a bottle, a tree held together as a tree. Everything on this level is held together with a pattern, with energy, with consciousness and awareness, because it wasn't held together and moved like that, then it would all simply turn to mush. It would all. This level of experience of awareness is the manifest realm where objects begin to appear in timeless awareness and form and reflect deeper realms of possibility. For instance, if I had this, I'm a little bit crazy at the moment. If I offered you a drink, excuse me, haven't I been offering you that in this whole conversation? And have I not been drinking you, and have you not been drinking me, and have we not been drinking each other? Are we not the bottle? You remember the baby? And yet, what it holds is uncontainable. And isn't our life the glass from which we pour endlessly and drink endlessly? I know some people here seem to be getting bored with me, so I might need to move on in a moment. There's probably only one person here right now. So, yes, Emma, you have gone into all those other levels, but you must come from their knowing. You must be the knowing coming from that knowing, and not need things to change from a conditional like or dislike, but just keep bringing the knowing, but fully bringing the knowing. But you will experience, so we're back to this conspiracy that you've all done, can you love too much? No. So when you're bringing all that you have experienced up into levels of self-experience that for you are not telling you what you are, this is great, because you're to turn this into what you are through belonging, through knowing, through the realizing, through the, as it were, the unbearable truth of knowing you're all of this. You can't do anything else but bring it, because you are it, and reveal it. And there will be cracks, and there will be breaks, but it's all cracking and breaking and opening to your own revelation of what you are without end. So this moment is a holiday. Doesn't matter what you're doing. How do I give to the deeper truth? By being it, knowing it, loving it, meaning it, and being in, fully in, as the light of your own precious awareness, regardless of how it feels in your sense perceptive conditional realm. Be the brightness in it, and keep being bright in it. And when I'm being bright, I'm not talking you have to have a full white teeth smile. I just mean just keep being it, being it. Don't need it to change. But you'll experience on this level of reality the pain difference, which is really an energetic thing, although it can move into a psychological thing and other levels. But you're knowing the difference between the constructed level of separate sense of self and the difference that your completeness, your being, is nothing like this. But it doesn't mean that this level is not made of you, consciousness, in your awareness. It is. You're here to be what you are in the deep, in this level of forming through the seeing and knowing, and your response to this level as what you deeply know. Pull it up. Put it up. Convey it. Convey this full emptiness that you are. That's you discovering what you are. Everything dissolves anyway, Emma. You go to sleep at night or during the day, and everything dissolves. Because here you say, how do I give to the deeper truth, this space where all dissolves? Well, everything's dissolving. You go to sleep and it all dissolves. So that really means it is dissolving in you right now, because when you go to deep dreamless sleep, you simply go into what you are beyond sense perception. But when we're not fully awake as awareness on this level of what we are, we're not, as it were, knowing what we are, where we are as awareness in deep dreamless sleep. Because this is just a surface that you come to, a surface level of you. The deeper level is your home. So you come up to this level and form it. It's just a moment, really. The deeper level is what you are. So you don't go to sleep to come back here as your home. This is not your home. The whole reality is home, for you are the light of love, reality itself. I sometimes feel in a catch-22 where I know so much deeper, yes, But that's not a catch-22. That simply means you know deeper, now belong deeper, have no need for this level to change, because knowing knows it knows. Keep staying with that and you'll get how this level turns into what you are through knowing knows it knows, but really have no need for this to change here, because that divides you once again. And open up beyond all my known ways. Just keep dissolving those known ways. Be new. And then as you're being present, coming a little bit deeper to be new, when the old information comes up, as it does, because mostly this world lives from it, you don't have to live from it. But the moment you dismiss it, you push it away, you become it. Because nonetheless, whether you like this world in its condition or not, it's made of the unconditional essence of you. I invite you all to come deep and wide. What appears to be inside. And just sit more deeply and quietly in daily life. And come to know and begin to understand on what level you come to understand that as you awaken to more of what you are, more awareness, more knowing, you'll also be knowing yourself, this human level. But as knowing, you'll love yourself, because it is dear to what you are. Humanity, your humanness, is dear to what you are. Thank you for communing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being. In a short while I'll be touring Europe and Scandinavia, heading down toward the retreat in Crete through Athens, and also this year I'm going to Cyprus to speak and share. So I'm going to say thank you to you. I'm just going to introduce you to Christiana, who's just going to give you a little bit more on what's happening. So thank you. Enjoyed being present and being with you. Thank you so much. I'll pass you over to Christiana. There you go.
See the eagle now. So you've heard Bernie's invitation to come to his place, and that would be really beautiful to have you all here one day, and we're certainly getting the place ready for you. But as it is now, he's coming to you, maybe, depending on where you are. So he's going to be touring the whole of September up until the retreat, and he's going to Ireland from the 2nd to the 5th of September, followed by England. There's an event in Bristol and a weekend in Malvern. And then we will be in Copenhagen for 2 nights, Stockholm for 2 nights, and what's next? Italy. He'll be in Italy from the 16th to the 24th of September, and there's lots of events, and we'll have everything up on the website tomorrow. We've actually posted the dates, but we're still finalizing some of the venues, so everything will be up soon, but the dates are already up on Facebook, and as of tomorrow they'll be on the website. And after Italy, we will be in Cyprus and Athens, and then there will be the retreat. And quite a few of you have already booked for Crete, and as you know, the retreat actually starts the moment you book. And if you haven't booked yet, and if you're thinking of coming, do it, really. And if you already know what you're doing or if you don't know what you're doing in October, consider coming along. It's really incredible, beyond anything you can imagine, to be on a retreat with me for 12 days like this. So, yeah, thank you for being here, and maybe you can help me out.